In the second part of the video, we're going to concentrate our efforts on team goalkeeping, particularly on how the goalkeeper can be accommodated within the team practice, but not at the expense of the field players. Before we get to that though, let's do a very quick summary of those all-important 10 key principles of goalkeeping. The hands give a goalkeeper an incredible advantage in the defending area, and that advantage must be maximised to its fullest and not taken away by lazy goalkeeping. In the end, when all else has failed, as we see in the pro footage, the hands can save the day. Secondly, the body shape of the goalkeeper is critically important. From the gorilla position to the side diving position to the dealing of high cross balls, the concaving looking in position of the goalkeeper is consistent. And as well, the window of goalkeeping must at all times be kept open until the ball is secured. Being always alert and alive would seem like a BGO, a blinding glimpse of the obvious. But sometimes it's difficult to maintain concentration as a goalkeeper when your own team is dominating the opposition and the ball remains in the attacking half of the field for long periods of time. We've been suggesting throughout the video that you stay on your feet as long as possible. And as we show with Kevin here and in the pro footage, if you stay on your feet as long as you can, there will be great rewards. If you fall backwards and sacrifice the advantage of staying up, you will be punished. Getting some part of the body behind the ball is always the consideration. One hand is better than one finger. Two hands are better than one hand. Two hands and some part of the body will give that additional insurance for those times when the hands don't work quite properly. And the next principle, the set consideration, is the one time when the goalkeeper isn't moving, with the keeper ready to react for the next piece of action, usually a shot. From the set position comes our next principle of react, do not anticipate. Reading the game, making educated guesses at penalty kicks is not anticipation. Second guessing the shooter is. So from the set position comes reaction rather than anticipation. The eighth principle again is another BGO. If a goalkeeper finds himself or herself on the ground without the ball and the ball is still in play, they better get back on their feet, PDQ. And of course the recovery is all tied in with the principles we've been talking about. You can recover much faster from a side diving position than you ever can from a belly flopping position or a sitting position, having fallen backwards. The ninth principle, DCO, decision making, communicating and organising, is a very important requirement of goalkeeping. Finally, the 10th principle, the goalkeeper as an attacker. This consideration has become more and more evident in today's game since the back pass rule was introduced. The goalkeeper is no longer a handball player, he is a footballer and a very important integral member of the team. So those are the 10 principles that we went through in much more detail in tape 1, but we will continually reference them as we look at team goalkeeping. Before we get into the goalkeeping team practices, let's practice some safe keeping at the near post. As we can see with Kevin's demonstration here, as he moves off the line into the first improvised goal marked by the discs, the goal begins to get smaller from the shooter's angle. It becomes more difficult to score to the right and left of the keeper, but of course it does make it easier for the shooter to chip the goalkeeper as he moves away from the goal line. Each time he moves up, he must get set if there's likely to be a shot. You can see most of the goal is covered off. The very important thing in narrowing the angle is to make sure that the keeper is set well before the shot is taken. Otherwise, the keeper may still be leaning backwards, putting on the brakes as the shot gets underway. The gorilla position needs to be assumed before the shot is taken. The nearer the goalkeeper is to the ball, the lower the gorilla position and the more the hands start coming out to the side. Tony is doing the same thing and moves out quickly, shuffles into the set position. His hands are a little bit high and we would encourage Tony to relax just a little bit more when he gets into that set position. However, in both the examples we've seen, there is a problem. As we point out to Kevin here, it's not good enough to take up a central position between the line from the ball to the near and far posts. As the ball is coming in from an angle, the near post area has to be the biggest danger and must be secured. So a fine adjustment here begins to close up the near post, but of course shows more of the far post. But the far post shot is the most difficult for the shooter, particularly with the right foot, as we're showing here, and it will tend to curve away and may even miss the goal. In any case, the merest touch from the goalkeeper will probably be enough to deflect the ball wide. So in the first effort, Kevin fails to collect, but he's covered that near post more than adequately, and of course in the game would now need to be back on his feet, making that second contact with the ball. So we can now see that as Kevin adjusts his position to shut out that near post, it makes it relatively easy to react to a shot into that near post area. Of course, he can't overdo it because it exposes too much of the far post. The near post will be the easiest shot for the shooter, as it's the shortest distance, and also the shooter can bend the ball around the near post, which of course he can't do so easily for the far post, unless he's able to hit the ball with the outside of his right foot. So when we look at the graphic showing those near post considerations, the two lines out from the post of the ball form the triangle the shooter needs to keep the ball within. If we then put a line in from the ball to the centre of the goal, one might be tempted to say that the goalkeeper needs to straddle that line at all times. But as the graphic shows, he doesn't. The only time that would happen would be if the ball was coming exactly down the centre and through the penalty spot. On an angle, the goalkeeper moves to the side of the centre line to make sure that near post preference for the shooter is taken away from them. And as we see, going to the far post still makes it relatively comfortable for the goalkeeper save. Here is Caitlin doing the same exercise that we've already seen Kevin and Tony do, but falling into the same trap initially of taking too central a position. So now we need to convince Caitlin that a little adjustment needs to be made to ensure that near post area is not made too easy. And you can see with the goal that is scored, Caitlin has given encouragement for the shooter to go to that near post by taking too central a position between those two lines to the near and far post. And once more, she anticipates ever so slightly, thinking it might be a far post goal, and allows a goal at the near post.
Right, okay, so to there. That's an easy shot for me. So I play it there. Right, easy, good, get up. Go.
Having got a good position with regard to the near post consideration, we're still back to the principles of goalkeeping that you react and do not anticipate. So let's have a look at the pros in action. As the play builds up and comes towards the edge of the penalty area at an angle to the goal, the goalkeeper has taken up a near post position. Even though it's from some distance out, it's still a good shot, but the goalkeeper is well positioned and makes the decision to deflect the ball over the goal. Same here with the shot we've seen before. The cross is coming to the side of the goal, and the goalkeeper's position here is going to be critical. As it lands, the attacker makes a first-time strike. The keeper is set at the time of the shot and produces a great reaction save. It's interesting to note, though, that there appears to be a little bit more of the near post exposed than perhaps one would normally like, and had the shot gone into the near post, the question is, could the goalkeeper have reacted from that situation to make the save? This is purely academic, as the goalkeeper saves the day. Here again is our goalkeeper shuffling back into position. Even with the play outside the penalty area, he needs to be very aware of that near post area, because if the attacker hit a shot now and caught the ball with the outside of his foot and it swerved into the top corner at the near post, it would be a goalkeeper's error if it went in. Here, the goalkeeper eliminates that possibility and then attacks the ball from that near post area and makes a very good save. In this situation here on the through ball, the keeper has come out and narrowed the angle and shut out that near post. Of course, this does make it more difficult to make that far post save, but as you can see on the shot, the keeper is still able to make a very good deflection save. Once more, an attack coming in from the side of the box. The goalkeeper is very concerned about that near post consideration and is covering the near post, quite rightly, ensuring that there is no way that a shot can enter the net. We need to practice as we play, and we'll see in the team practices later that we will set up situations very similar to this. More near post action. The goalkeeper takes up an advanced position, but covers off the near post in particular for this shot. Same here. The easiest shot for the attacker would be the near post if it was left unguarded by the goalkeeper, and the most difficult shot to hit is the far post. The keeper is perfectly positioned, but in the end doesn't stand up, falls backwards and gives away the advantage that the keeper had a split second before. And in the next piece of action, the keeper has to adjust his position quickly to seal off that near post, and he has time to do so, but never moves over far enough to make it more difficult for the scorer. And with the scorer having time to get it onto his right foot, he easily slots it away into the near post space. Two more pieces of action here to show that even world-class goalkeepers don't always get it right, but also to emphasise just how important that near post consideration is. The near post door is left open and the goal is scored. Similarly here, an attack coming into the penalty area from quite an acute angle, normally there should be no danger of a near post goal being conceded here, if the goalkeeper's position is the correct one. It isn't, and the goal is scored. As the graphic shows, 3 goals have been improvised in an 8-yard equilateral triangle, policed by our 2 goalkeepers. The rest of the team is gathered outside of the triangle and can pass or shoot the ball. Only 1 goalkeeper is allowed to guard 1 goal, and obviously the 2 keepers must adjust as the ball is switched around. In the action here, we see the goalkeepers have to constantly readjust their positions to look at near post considerations and always be ready and alert for the changing situation and the shot on goal. As you can see here, the field players are not very much involved. So as the practice develops, we then have the stipulation that the field player must always follow the path of their pass or shot. This brings about a lot more activity for the field players as well. If a field player is following the shot, they run towards the goal and either move to where the goalkeeper throws the ball or where the ball goes to as it enters the goal and passes out the other side. This will produce plenty of activity for our players. But with the numbers that we've got in the practice here, a further progression can then be to introduce 2 balls in play at the same time. And this is good fun, great activity for the goalkeepers, and a lot of bodies passing in front of them and around them in a realistic situation that often happens in a crowded penalty area. Another form of warm-up, which all players enjoy, is the goalkeeper ball, GK ball. Here, portable goals or improvised goals are placed in an area approximately 30 yards by 20 yards, with 2 teams of 5, 6 or 7 or 8, depending on the size of your squad. The rules are simple. The ball can only be moved by throwing. Running with the ball is not allowed. If the ball is misthrown or miscaught and hits the ground, it's a turnover and goes to the opposition. Opponents are not allowed to challenge against the team with the ball, but can intercept. If a partial interception is made, it's then a free ball, and the first player to dive and secure the ball gains possession for their team. The only way to score is by heading a goal. For younger players, heading will be a problem, so they can score by throwing the ball in from outside the zone. Although goalkeepers are included, they are not positioned as goalkeepers, although there will be a tendency for them to gravitate back towards their own goal. It may well be that, with the regular field players, we unearth some raw goalkeeping talent. So as you watch the game, you can see there's lots of fun, a lot of game savvy, some great headed goals and some near misses too. In the graphic, we see how this practice operates. There are two files of players outside the penalty area. One of the players at the front of the file has the ball. It doesn't matter which one. The ball is played into the server, who sets it up, right or left, with the condition that when the ball is received inside the penalty area, it has to be a one-time, first-time shot. The player who doesn't receive the ball makes a run towards the goal, but times the run so that if any rebound comes off the goalkeeper, he or she is arriving at the right time to convert the rebound into a shot on goal. The coach can be the server, or it may be better to have an assistant coach as a server and for the coach to go behind the goal and give information and advice to the goalkeeper. Goalkeepers rotate in and out every 3 or 4 shots, and the incidence of attacks on goal is fairly rapid to keep the activity level high both for the shooters and for the goalkeepers. But you must allow time for the goalkeeper to retreat back into a good starting position after each phase of play. In the initial action we're seeing here, only one player is coming to take the 1-2 off the server, so the situation for the goalkeeper is much simpler. He needs to get the angle sealed up and not worry about the second player. But in the practice with the second group, we have the 2 players moving into the penalty area to see if they can score the goal. We can see here that the goalkeeper is making good decisions and taking up good positions. However, eventually, the deflection off the goalkeeper forces an error by the keeper, who in trying to clear the goal under pressure, only kicks the ball into his own net. Same here. The goalkeeper partially saves, but the ball runs into the net. Had it not gone into the net, the second player would have completed the scoring attack. So as you can see in the pro footage, we're trying to produce in practice just what happens in the game. An attack develops with the striker producing a shot from the right-hand side, which the goalkeeper is unable to hold, and now needs to be back on his feet, on his toes, for the potential second shot from another attacker following up. Look at this situation. The goalkeeper makes the first save, but in doing so, falls back and is not in a position to do very much about the second shot on goal. Coming out to narrow the angle, the goalkeeper's gone fishing, but is in a great position to make sure the ball doesn't end up in the net and has forced the error from the striking player. We've talked about the next situation in the near post consideration. The keeper's first priority is to shut out the near post. However, if you look carefully, when the shot is taken, the goalkeeper is still moving forward and therefore not in a good position to react to the shot going into the far post. Not the goalkeeper's fault necessarily, but he could have done better. In the next sequence, the goalkeeper is not moving forward just before the shot is taken. He gets set and is therefore able to react to the shot that's going towards the far post and produces a top-class save. In the side kick practice, as you'll see in the graphic, we are replicating a situation that occurs very often in the game. An attacking player gets down the side of the penalty area at an angle to the goal and is left with the option of shooting for goal or pulling the ball back to an incoming teammate. The organisation is to have 2 teams, one fielding the balls behind the goal and the other team on the field. Our goalkeepers rotate in after each attempt at goal, and the server needs to decide whether he shoots at the goal, particularly if the goalkeeper is anticipating the cross, or whether he pulls the cross back to the incoming players. It's also very important that the players moving in to shoot at goal delay their run in readiness for the pullback from the server. As we see in the practice, Coach David is our server. It's important to have a realistic service to replicate the conditions that would happen in the game. A very slow ball across the goal is unrealistic, as defenders would most likely clear that ball. The coach here plays the ball with the first touch and then shoots or crosses with the second touch just beyond the front cone marker. The keeper, having defended the near post, moves quickly across the goal and then gets set, or half set, to make the reaction save, which in our first example is a very good save. Let's have a look at the same situations with the pros. As we said earlier, these types of situations we've just been practicing do occur frequently in the game. And this action here is a replica of the areas we've been taking the shots from. In this case, the shooter decides the shot is better than the pullback, but because the keeper is perfectly positioned, he is able to beat the shot away. However, in the next piece of action, the keeper decides that as the ball is pulled back, he is going to try and intercept the ball. Unless goalkeepers are 99% certain they can do this, they would be better recovering back across the goal rather than being, as our keeper is here, out of the game, lying on the ground when the next shot comes in. Even then he nearly pulled it off, but loses out on the third shot. A similar circumstance to our practice situation here. On this occasion, as the ball gets towards the angle of the 6-yard box, the goalkeeper has come 3 to 4 yards to the side of the near post. This gives very little time to react and further exposes the far post area. What's more, the goalkeeper decides to take a gamble to see if he can intercept the ball as it's pulled across him. The goalkeeper wouldn't be held accountable for this goal, but more could have been done to make it more difficult for the attacking team. In the end, a very alert attacker at the far post converts an easy goal with some well-timed, skillful play. And the final piece of action is not quite like our practice situation and shows how situations can change very quickly. Initially, the goalkeeper is looking to come forward with a one-on-one situation, then realizes the situation has changed and quickly shuffles back to take up a perfect near post position, so that when the shot is taken, he is able to react and deflect the ball to safety. This practice is a further development of the side kicks we just saw a moment ago. The server will usually be the coach, who can do one or two things with the service. He can replicate a cross for a diving header at the far post, or, if a goalkeeper anticipates too early and leaves the near post open, the server can throw the ball into the net at the vacated near post space. And this is what happens with the first service. The server tries to catch out the goalkeeper anticipating, but the goalkeeper is having none of it. He is securing that near post space to start with. So what the goalkeepers need to do in these situations is, first of all, to deal with the first danger, a shot or a mishit shot come cross, coming on goal at the near post. However, once the ball has been thrown to the back post, the goalkeeper needs to move across the goal as quickly as possible, and then, if time allows, get set, or if time is against the goalkeeper, get half set. We see here that the goalkeeper was unable to get set and is very easily beaten with a ball that goes across the body. Goalkeepers in these practices are often playing for percentages. It's a difficult situation for them, but if they cut out that near post to start with, move across as quick as they can once the ball is on its way to the far post, and then, if they arrive early enough, get set, there's a good chance they'll be able to make a reaction save, or the ball might even just hit the keeper. In terms of the organisation of the practice, our demonstration team here is a large group of 16 or 17 players. It would be better to have a 3-a-side or 4-a-side game going on at the same time and work with 3 groups and rotate them in and out in order to ensure more activity for everyone. With the 2 teams, the challenge is which team can score most goals. With the goalkeepers, it's a different challenge. Can the keepers between them keep the number of goals below a 50% scoring rate? Diving headers is a great activity for the goalkeepers, good fun for the attackers, good skill development for the attackers, but you should try to keep the numbers smaller than we're actually showing here to allow more activity. As we see in the game footage, this is the real McCoy from the replicated situation. The keeper is defending at the near post and now has to move to the far post for the header. It's a good header and the goalkeeper didn't have much of a chance, but he never made an effort, and it leaves the goalkeeper looking hopelessly beaten. In the next clip, another very good header. The goalkeeper, properly positioned, makes an excellent effort, and even though the goal was scored at the near post, he had little chance. Same here. The goalkeeper had to go to the near post, recovers over to the back post, makes an absolutely fantastic effort, and almost got a fingertip to the ball, which would have been a wonder save. So the keeper did everything right, even though he was scored on. Next time he could well succeed in a very spectacular way. The through ball is one of the most difficult yet least practiced situations for goalkeepers. The simple setup we see in the graphic is that there are two files of players 35 to 40 yards out from goal, right and left. The server just inside the centre circle touches the ball and then plays it forward, either left or right, even on occasions down the middle. One player from each of the files tries to get to the ball first. The first player becomes the attacker, the other player becomes the recovering defender. Obviously, the goalkeeper needs to make decisions and also to look for and ask for help from the recovering defender. The position of the goalkeeper will depend on a number of factors: speed of the ball, position of the recovering defender, and the angle that the ball is coming in from. This is an excellent practice for the team because the field players are being challenged to get to the ball quickly, beat the goalkeeper if they're the attacker, or recover quickly to become the defender, trying to get goal side of the attacker and to prevent the shot on goal. The practice can be modified as we see in the graphic here, so that on the shout 2, when the ball is played into one side, 2 players come from one foul and none from the other. Naturally, the second player becomes the recovering defender. This is often the situation in game circumstances where the attacker has timed his run to beat the offside trap and is one-on-one with the keeper, albeit with the defender not too far behind. The lob ball, which we see here, is much more difficult for the goalkeeper to judge. As it bounces, it makes it easier for the attacker to lob the ball over the outcoming goalkeeper. With rapid service and a rotation of goalkeepers, there can be a high level of activity in this particular practice, even with numbers in a squad of 15 or 16. From a goalkeeper's perspective, the first thing is, where is the starting position? And with the service coming from just inside the halfway line, the goalkeeper should be able to be at least up on the top of the 6-yard box. It would take an incredible shot to dip the ball over the goalkeeper from there, particularly with the goalkeeper recovering backwards. So as the ball is played, the goalkeeper has to make a decision. Can I get to the ball first?
Well done.
The pro footage shows just why we've been doing this through ball practice. The white attacker gets away from a just onside position, leaving it 1 versus 1 with the keeper. A difficult situation for the keeper, but we've looked at this before and said that when caught in these situations, there's not much benefit in retreating if, when the shot is taken, the keeper finds himself falling backwards and therefore unable to make a good reaction to the shot. Same here, very much a 1 versus 1 through ball situation that we've been doing in practice. Here again, the goalkeeper begins to retreat and as a result is not in a very good position to defend a low shot that actually goes through his legs. In the next situation, the keeper here is getting more help from the defender, who encourages the attacker to go wide, making it a better angle for the goalkeeper to defend his goal. A diagonal ball here springs the defensive trap and leaves it one-on-one with the goalkeeper, who comes out aggressively and makes a decision to go to feet. Another long through ball penetrates the defence and leaves the goalkeeper stranded 8 yards out from goal. One of the reasons we were using that lob ball practice on the through balls. What could the keeper have done here better? Not come out quite as far, because you've always got a second chance if you're reasonably close to the goal line. In the action here, a high through ball coming into the penalty area leaves the goalkeeper with a dilemma. Should he come? Should he not? But as his defender comes more into contention, the goalkeeper decides to back off and reposition while the defender goes about his business. The defender forces the attacker wide, but then goes to ground on a failed sliding challenge. But he's already done a good job for the goalkeeper in making the angle an acute one, and the keeper is then able to move forward to charge the shot down. Another through ball splits the red defence, and the keeper moves out, and then holds his ground as his fellow defender begins to move in on the attacker. He repositions, and because of the good decision and the good position and the great reaction, saves the day. Another tricky situation for the keeper on the through ball, with the attacker clearly in charge of the situation and with defenders flailing. The keeper makes a good decision to stay on the feet, keeps his body between the ball and the goal, and eventually blocks the shot. We cannot say there is one way to deal with these situations. All we can do is to put goalkeepers into realistic practice situations and work with them while recognising the value of the 10 key principles of goalkeeping. Here is Kevin once again to demonstrate the hands as the leaders and as the protectors. As Coach David comes in to kick the ball, the hands are to the ball, the head is protected by the hands and arms, the body is coming across the goal, and the upper leg elevated to form a bigger barrier. And with an excellent chance as the striker hits the ball, that the ball will be deflected away from the goal into a safer area. On the other hand, if the keeper, as Kevin demonstrates here, corkscrews and comes out the other way round, and even though that may be the side the goalkeeper prefers to dive on, you can see that the body and the legs are protecting very little of the goal. And if the ball was kicked out of Kevin's hands, it would tend to be deflected across the middle of the penalty area, making it easier for the opposition to convert the rebound. Some keepers come out at the feet of the opposing striker, feet first, with their hands by the side. It's another way of doing it, and as you can see here, covers off the goal quite well. The problem is, if the ball hits the soles of the feet, it'll rebound back into play. And if the striker takes evasive action, it's going to be extremely difficult for the goalkeeper to recover back onto his feet. But we've got to be careful that we don't say there is only one way of goalkeeping, because it will depend on the abilities, the size, and the varying characteristics of each goalkeeper. Because the one-on-one situations produce the most dangerous circumstances in the game, it is a great advantage for youngsters to learn how to deal with this long before competitive 11-a-side soccer begins. We said in part 1 of the video that all young players are strikers, defenders and goalkeepers. They should not have permanent positions until much later. Almost all children like to dive and tumble. In the warm-up phase of the team goalkeeping, we played the GK ball game. Here we're using the same field dimensions, 30 yards by 20 yards, where a halfway line is set up 15 yards across the middle of the field. The rules are simple. No player can go across the halfway line, but obviously the ball can. With teams of 5, including a goalkeeper, they are arranged 3 field players and a goalkeeper in the defending half, and 1 attacker in the attacking half. This means when the goalkeeper gets the ball, he has relatively easier alternatives to maintain possession with a 4-against-1 situation. The idea is for the 4 to put themselves in good shooting positions at the goal. The 1 attacker in the front half is always looking for rebound goals. Here's what is called the sniffer, who is always trying to sniff out a half chance or get onto a rebound. The sniffer will be the hardest working player on a team, so it's important to change him or her around every 3 or 4 minutes. With 3 goalkeepers and a squad of 15 or so, you could have a situation where 3 teams rotate every 3 or 4 minutes. What the game produces is good passing for the field players, creative play and opportunistic and optimistic play by the sniffer, shots from 15 yards or more for the goalkeeper, often with vision impaired by players in front of the goalkeeper, and always the risk of a deflection shot. It's important the goalkeeper dominates the practice by giving instructions to his or her teammates and by good supporting play, so that the keeper is always positioned to receive a back pass. The quality of the ball from the goalkeeper to the players has to be good. One rule, though, is that goalkeepers cannot score themselves, and this means they must be responsible for first-class distribution. We practice as we play, so when we watch the pro footage, we see almost identical situations to some of those we've been watching in the big shot game. A shot from outside the penalty area takes a deflection, and the goalkeeper must try to adjust even though he's already committed to the dive, and in this case, didn't quite make it. Another shot here from the edge of the penalty area is safely secured by the goalkeeper, who had moved out 4 yards to narrow the angle. Another possession play, this time outside the penalty area, and then eventually a long-range shot past defenders. It probably meant the goalkeeper didn't get a good view of it until it was much closer to the goal, hence the deflection save. This time, a build-up of an attack finds a player unmarked, our sniffer in the practice, and he clinically scores. Another deflection here causes problems for the goalkeeper, on this long-range shot as it comes off the heel of a defender and is curving into the goal. A good adjustment by the goalkeeper saves the day. And in his final bit of action, a similar situation to some of those in the big shot practice. A longer range shot is not collected first time by the goalkeeper and it rebounds towards the sniffer. But because the keeper makes a very good recovery, he is able to make what appears to be a fairly simple save. The graphic shows the near and far practice, where the ball is brought in from the flank up towards the angle of the penalty area and crossed to the area in front of the goal for runners going both to the near and far post. From a goalkeeping perspective, the first thing is to take up correct starting positions, relative mainly to the cross, but also to a certain extent to the players. For instance, the goalkeeper can't be too far towards the far post when a near post runner is coming across. The coach starts by playing the service in. Another alternative is to let the players serve the ball to themselves. On the first touch, the flank players control and set up the ball forward. On the next touch, they cross it. As we see here, it is quite challenging for the goalkeepers. However, the near and far players are restricted to one touch. So if the goalkeeper is not sure that he can get it, then he does as we've said before. If he's in doubt, he does nothing, stays at home, and waits to react to the incoming shot or header. Although we're showing the crosses coming from the right, the coach should also move the starting positions to the other side so that field players become proficient at left-footed crosses as well. In the game footage, the cross we're about to see is coming from almost the same position as we were crossing from in the practice. A good bending cross to the far post means the goalkeeper has no chance to come out and was given very little chance with the header, although he may have stood up a little bit longer. Similarly, with this next piece of pro footage, a bending cross in at the near post and a diving header by the attacker produces a spectacular effort. Not the fault of the keeper, but he did end up anchored to the ground. Once again, another cross, similar to the ones we were setting up in the practice with the service coming from inside the box. Another very telling cross in behind the defence makes it just about impossible for the keeper to come out for the ball, and the header back across the goal made it extremely difficult to produce any type of reaction save. Another testing cross, another very good header, and a great effort by the keeper who almost kept the ball out of the net. This time, good decision making by the goalkeeper. He cannot get the ball but repositions himself for the impending shot, and had the shot been on goal, was in a great position to make the save, although it does appear that he's falling backwards a little bit at the very last second. We've seen this before, but it's certainly worth seeing again. The goalkeeper covering the near post and coming out to gather the ball before the attacking red player can get to it. This time a cross from a deeper position sees the goalkeeper making a fine catch beyond the far post. Finally, a little bending cross behind the defence. A good header from a difficult position, but an even better save to prevent the goal. The graphic shows a team practice that is working on build-up play, culminating in a cross. The ball is played from a deep position into the central striking player, who lays off the ball and begins to spin away. The player receiving the return pass plays out either right or left and then continues forward in an effort to meet the cross. The two strikers work out who is going to make the near post run and who is going to make the far post run. So it won't necessarily be as we see here in the graphic, as the near and far post runners often cross over. The player on the wing side, away from the ball, moves in to support a long cross over the top. The rule in the penalty area is one touch only, as otherwise it would make it unrealistic for the goalkeeper. While the main beneficiaries of the crossroads practice will be the field players, it's still a good opportunity for the goalkeepers to fit into the team practice and deal with situations that are realistic. Do they come for the ball? Do they catch? Do they punch? What position do they take up for the impending header or shot? Can they make the save and not give up a rebound? To make the practice even more realistic, a defender can be added to assist the goalkeeper. Now the goalkeeper has to direct the defender to either the near post or the far post areas and then make a decision whether it's going to be the goalkeeper's ball or the defender's ball, and to communicate that decision to the defender. In the pro footage, we see the goalkeepers are having to deal with these difficult crosses from similar circumstances to our crossroads practice. The quality of the crossing is so good, it gives the goalkeeper little chance to come for the ball. All they can do is take up good positions and react to the header. Here we have a great cross, a great header, and an outstanding effort by the goalkeeper. And in the next piece of action, the goalkeeper is beaten and is not to blame for the goal, but could have at least tried to make some effort to get a hand to the ball instead of being caught flat-footed. We've seen this action before, and the keeper makes an early and good decision and follows it with some spectacular goalkeeping. Same with this action, where the crosser has gone deep to the goal line, but the goalkeeper is able to make a comfortable save. We've already talked about starting positions for goalkeepers when the ball is down the field and when the ball is coming into the defending half. Balls from the wing areas require precise starting positions for the keeper. In the first example of a cross from just outside the angle of the 18-yard box, if the player is to in-swing the cross with the left foot, the keeper must make sure that the near post is shut out and the keeper is no more than 1 or 2 yards off the goal line. If it is an outswinger with the right foot, the keeper can take more of a central goal position and come 2 to 3 yards off the line. From much wider positions, it's going to take the ball longer to arrive in and around the 6-yard box. So on the outswinger with the right foot, the keeper can be more towards the far post and 3 yards or more off the line. However, with the inswinger, the keeper needs to err on the side of caution, just in case a sliced cross bends into the near post. The position is centre goal or half a yard nearer the near post and not more than 2 yards off the line. And with the ball close to the goal line, 10 to 15 yards from the goal, it doesn't matter if the cross is going to be right or left foot. The keeper must seal off that near post area by being close to the post and able to defend any miss-hit cross or pullback that could be met by an attacker moving into that near post area. The graphic shows the organisation for the mixed bag practice. A portable goal is set up on the halfway line facing the other goal, and channels are put out in the wing areas of the field. A halfway line is marked between the goal line and the halfway line. The team is arranged with a goalkeeper at each end and 2 defenders playing against 3 attackers. This will of course depend on the number of players you have, and adjustments can be made accordingly. In the outside channel are 2 neutral players. They play with the team in possession when the ball is played to them. Their job is to cross into one goal or the other. Offside applies, so it's the task of the goalkeeper to organise his 2 defenders and not allow them back into his 6-yard area. As well, the starting positions of the goalkeepers are critical, and if the 3 attacking players organise themselves well, at least one attacker will be making runs into that near post area. This should force the goalkeeper to think very much about covering that near post zone. The goalkeepers are encouraged to switch the ball when they receive the play from one side by throwing it out to the other. This is the right mindset when playing in an 11-a-side competitive game. The ball comes from the crowded area on one flank, and the ball is then thrown out, switched, to the weaker side. Of course, in a game, the goalkeeper thinking, first and foremost, is, can I get the ball thrown or kicked forward to make quick penetration into the other half of the field? When a cross is played in, play continues until that phase is finished. So if there are any loose balls, attackers can get onto them and shoot at goal, or defenders can play the ball wide to set up the attack the other way. It's very important that the goalkeepers, having secured the ball, make good throws out to the flank players. As you can see here with the error of judgment the goalkeeper makes here, that these are very testing circumstances where mistakes will be made, but this is realistic goalkeeping practice. Should they come? Should they stay? Should they catch? should they punch? How do they organise their defence? As we move from one group to another, we can see that the playing circumstances are much better, although the nature of the practice stays the same. The goalkeepers get in the habit of receiving from one side of the field and throwing out accurately to the other. It's amazing when you get into this type of practice that the goalkeepers fail to relax even on simple techniques, and that's why our goalkeeper here failed to catch the cross. It's another very good reason for practicing in these type of situations. As well, we can see in the build-up here that the coach changed some of the conditions by allowing the goalkeeper to throw into the front players, who are then able to build up a central attack or play it wide in preparation once more for a cross. If the practice is geared towards crosses and goalkeepers dealing with crosses, then the coach can condition the game so that the ball must always go wide at some stage, and then the ball is played in as a cross ball. So as the mixed bag practice builds up, other conditions are introduced to make it much more of a regular game-like situation. The ball is played in from the flanks, played back out to the strikers, and shots taken from central positions. One problem that frequently occurs is getting the right quality of crosses to test the goalkeeper. Often the crossing players in the outside channel go deep towards the goal line and end up pulling the ball back and away from the goalkeeper. To force difficult diagonal crosses to be landing in and around the 6-yard area, you will see in the graphic that we've put in lines as an extension of the 18-yard line to force the cross to come from a deeper position, and this will definitely challenge the decision-making requirements of the goalkeepers. Our game footage shows just why we need the mixed bag practice. The ball is played into the outside area where we had our channel and then crossed in almost on the 6-yard line. It was a great cross and a difficult ball for the goalkeeper to deal with. He reacted well, but not quite well enough. This time from the outside channel, an in-swinging cross. And these types of crosses are very difficult for a goalkeeper to judge. The attacker makes contact with it about 9 yards from goal and produces a good downward header just inside the near post. The keeper here has decided not to come, quite rightly, and makes a great reaction to the header and deflects the ball for a corner. This high looping cross we've seen before, and it tests the decision-making qualities of our goalkeeper. He decides to hold his position in readiness for the header and then makes a very good reaction save. Note the starting position of the keeper here as the attack builds up in the wide channel, and then a very early decision is made to come for the ball, which he gets to, and this is first-class goalkeeping. Note again the starting position of the goalkeeper as the ball gets towards the goal line and is right out on the touchline. Because it's going to be an out-swinging cross with the right foot, the keeper has come 2 yards off the line and is more towards the far post position than we've seen in most of the crosses so far. But in these circumstances, it's the right position, and he ends up making an easy catch, well protected by his defenders. A very early decision by the goalkeeper to come out, and the timing of the punch is executed perfectly, but it does require a very early decision and very fast action. Even so, the punch didn't quite go far enough away from the danger area, but far enough for the goalkeeper to be able to go back to adjust his position. In the next piece of action, a high cross from a deep position is going way beyond the far post. These are extremely difficult crosses to catch if you're moving backwards and unable to see players who may be coming into challenge. However, the keeper makes a very good catch under the pressure of an attacking and defending player. The graphic shows the organisation of our Super 8s game, or Super 9s or Super 7s depending on your numbers. The Super 8s field is half a soccer field plus 18 yards. A portable goal is put on the line 18 yards beyond the halfway line. If you haven't got a portable goal, use cones or corner flags to improvise a goal. 8 players, a goalkeeper plus 7 outfield players, play against another 8 players, or whatever numerical arrangement you have to make. The game borrows from the old North American Soccer League rule in using thirds of the field for the offside arrangement. If the field is 75 yards long, then lines marked in by coaching discs are put in every 25 yards. The rule is offside only applies in the attacking thirds of the field. You cannot be offside in the midfield third. This replicates most of the rules of the 11-a-side game, but gives the space in the midfield in which to play. From a goalkeeping perspective, the offside rule is very important as the goalkeeper organises his or her defence and is able to push them up towards the top of the defending third and then deal with the space behind, as would a sweeper keeper. In a regulation field 75 yards wide, it may be beneficial to narrow the field a little, but this once again requires organisation time. As we can see, the Super 8's game brings all the thrills, spills and realistic situations of the 11-a-side game. It's very end-to-end. And the goalkeepers will see more action in a 20-minute Super 8 game than they may see in 5 or 6 regulation games. The keepers cannot lose concentration or relax for 1 second. As well, the use of the ball is critical because the keepers don't have quite the same outlet of the long kick forward. Just look at some of the situations and the decisions that the goalkeepers have to deal with here. The ball is played through into the attacking third, and the goalkeeper has to make a quick decision with regard to dealing with the ball. The keeper comes out and goes to ground to ensure protecting the ball. Now the keeper is the first attacker, so where should that ball go? And it was a somewhat risky throw that put his own team under pressure. Fortunately, a good decision by his teammate to turn out and go down the line prevents the ball being won by the opponent. Within a space of seconds, another attack is built on the goalkeeper as a diagonal ball is played into the front third, the goalkeeper's defending third, and another decision has to be made. Should he stay? Well, it's pretty obvious that he should have stayed and taken a more conservative approach to the situation that was developing. Having made the error in judgment, the last despairing act is to put the hand in the air in the hope for an offside call. And who can blame him? The Super 8 produces the stuff of goalkeeping, and it's an excellent game for both field players and goalkeepers. As we look at the pro game situation, we see that the Super 8 is not very different to highly competitive top-class 11 versus 11 play. The keeper must stay very much alert and alive, and on this long-range shot from 25 yards, still needs to be on his toes to make the diving save. This time, the belly flop works. And again, in a Super 8 11 versus 11 situation, as the build-up play goes on and the ball comes into the goalkeeper's defending third, the keeper is kept on his toes and in the end makes a relatively simple side diving save. The back pass rule introduced in the 90s brought a new dimension to the goalkeeping role. Finally, our goalkeepers are also footballers as well as handball players. We've already seen in part 1 of the video the square pegs practice, and this is a very good practice for both the goalkeeper and the field player. It develops accurate passing and good first touch control. Both of these skills are important for all players. In the graphic we've shown a triangular setup for the square pegs, which is better as it forces a switching of direction. With just 2 goalkeepers, of course, they're using 2 squares to work in. The Swiss flag game that we're showing here in the graphic is a further development for the back pass rule. It is a 4 versus 4 situation with 4 players in the middle square and 4 players in the outside squares. They're not actually squares, apart from the centre square, which is 10 yards, as the outside squares are extended to 15 yards. Initially, only one of the 4 players in the middle square can go into the outside square at any one time as the ball is passed across and around the outside squares. One way to control this is to give 1 penny to the 4, and this must be carried by the player going into the outside square, and then passed on to a teammate in the centre square who takes over the duty of pressurising the outside players. The competition is to see how many consecutive passes can be put together by the outside players. After 3 or 4 minutes, they then change with the inside players. As the players become better, then 2 players can be released to go into the outside squares, with 2 pennies being their passport into the outside area. They can then return from the outside square when the ball gets played away from there and pass the penny on to one of their teammates. Only 1 defender is allowed per outside square. Of course, the ball can be played over the top, not just to the side squares, but that's a much more difficult pass for the outside players to make. This practice is good fun, very appropriate, both for the field players and the goalkeepers. It does require a little bit of organisation to put in the areas. The Swiss flag shape gives the game its name, but also the pennies carrying the flag is part of the name. Putting the back pass into even more realistic circumstances in relation to the field and field markings, we're showing here an attack versus defence practice. 5 attackers are playing against 6 defenders and a goalkeeper. So the defending team has extra players to defend with, but also extra players when they gain possession and begin to attack. Cone goals are put beyond the halfway line for the defending team to be able to play out to. A further area for the goalkeeper is to play it long into the attacking half of the centre circle. There are 2 ways of ensuring the goalkeeper is brought into a back pass situation. 1. The coach can start the service by playing it to the goalkeeper who cannot use his hands, or to a defender who will be facing the goalkeeper, thus encouraging the back pass. Or 2. A rule is made whereby the defending team, when they get possession, cannot score any improvised goals until their own goalkeeper has actually touched the ball. That's one of the reasons for overloading the defending team, who with the goalkeeper have a 7 versus 5 advantage. In the pro footage with the goalkeepers dealing with the back passes, we can see why we need to give goalkeepers and the team the opportunity of dealing with this tricky situation. A bad decision or a misplaced ball can easily result in a goal, and this is just what happens here. Whereas in the next clip, the goalkeeper has put himself in a very good position as a rear supporting player to receive the ball and switches the play into the less dangerous part of the field and plays a long ball into the safety of the flank area. Set plays, particularly penalties, corner kicks, free kicks and throw-ins, account for a very high percentage of all goals scored. Depending on the level of competition, it's anything between 20 and 50%. The penalty is the highest scoring set play. Set plays are sometimes called dead ball situations because after a stoppage, the game is restarted with a static ball. Kickoffs, goal kicks, free kicks, penalties are all dead ball situations, as is the throw-in. We know that penalties account for the highest number of goals scored in set plays. Therefore, it's logical to say penalties need to be practiced, not just for normal game circumstances, but these days, the penalty shootout is the method of choice for most tournaments that need to have a winner after games are tied at the end of regulation play and overtime. There are many theories about how to score penalties and how to save penalties, and we're not going to speculate here on all the theories and the tricks of the trade. What we are going to say is that they must be practiced so that goalkeepers feel comfortable when they're facing the penalty kick situation. Ray Clements, the former England goalkeeper, now a goalkeeper coach, talks about the 5 main areas for penalty taking. Area 1 is that space to the side and below and above the goalkeeper standing centre goal. Any penalty coming into that area, providing the goalkeeper doesn't anticipate, is most definitely savable. The next 2 areas are those towards the post, up to a height of 3 to 4 feet. A well-struck penalty just inside the post would be extremely difficult to stop unless the goalkeeper had moved along the line early, or it had been under-hit, or the goalkeeper had a good idea of where the penalty was going, and then this would become a calculated gamble by the goalkeeper. The last 2 areas, right and left of the keeper, are right in the upper 90s and very difficult to stop. We talked earlier about the wrong-handed save. So if the goalkeeper were to go for a shot going into the upper 90, the top hand would have a better chance of getting nearer to the ball, even though it tends to be a less coordinated stop than the lower hand. Once again, a very good reason to practice to work out these factors. There are two good ways of practicing. Split the team in half, and each player on one team has a shot on goal, and then they change over and go behind the goal, and the next team does the same. If there are two goalkeepers, you may assign one goalkeeper to each team. The second way is to actually stage a shootout, because one of the most difficult aspects of the shootout is that all players must assemble in the centre circle. And when it becomes a player's turn to shoot, that player has to make the long walk from the halfway line to the penalty spot, and this can be unnerving. So look at the goalkeeping action again, as the keeper here makes a great penalty save and obviously had some advanced intelligence. This is not anticipating. This is a calculated, educated gamble based on cues from the way the penalty taker shapes up, or from previous knowledge about the preferred way that the penalty kicker prefers to place the ball in the net. Just look at the actions of the goalkeeper here, who holds his position until the very last split second. The kicker is committed to placing it to the goalkeeper's left, and the chances are two things have happened here. One, the goalkeeper at this level of play is familiar with the penalty taker and his preference as to where he puts the penalty kick. But also the second thing is the body language of the penalty taker and the way he shapes to take the kick. This will give cues and clues to the keeper about the way the ball is going to go. In a different example here, the goalkeeper retains a central position once more until the very last split second, when he reads the kicker is going to place the ball to his right, and as a result is able to make the save. Compare that to our final bit of action. Once more the keeper has read the direction of the ball, but is unable to assess early that the ball is going high. His last despairing effort is with the wrong hand, which in this case is not the wrong hand, and he's desperately unlucky as he does manage to deflect the ball but is unable to deflect it over the goal. So practice will not make perfect on penalty kicks. The goalkeeper will always be at a disadvantage, but practice will increase the percentage chances of saving. In the modern game, corner kicks are only second to penalties in goals scored. It's very important that goalkeepers are comfortable with the team arrangement of players to assist in preventing goals. Just look at our goalkeepers here on the receiving end of some very difficult situations at corner kicks. We've shown two examples of one of the most difficult areas to defend, what we've called the black hole in our set play book and video. It is not our intention here to cover the detail that we have in the set play book and video. Instead, we'll look at it almost exclusively from the goalkeeper's perspective, but with this suggestion: goalkeepers and coaches must between them come up with the best method of defending. The four areas we're showing here constitute the most dangerous spaces from which goals are scored. The first is that one closest to the goal, and a fast in-swinging ball into that area, as we've already seen, will cause great problems. So instead of presenting the detail of the set plays video, we're going to come up with the questions a goalkeeper must ask of him or herself and the coach and the team, and suggest some of the solutions. Number one is the starting position of the goalkeeper. On the in-swinging corner that we're showing here, it must be towards the near post, and the keeper cannot be too far off the line just in case it swings right into the goal at the near post or is deflected by an attacker in that black hole. Secondly, does the keeper have a defender on each of the posts or merely one at the near post? Thirdly, if that ball comes into the back end of the black hole, is that the keeper's ball? Or is another player assigned to deal with that particularly difficult in-swinging ball? Fourthly, what adjustments are made for an outswung cross? Obviously, the starting position of the goalkeeper will change, as the keeper can then go more towards the centre of the goal and come 2 or 3 yards off the line. Fifthly, does the keeper feel more comfortable with a player pressurising the corner 10 yards from the corner kicker? 6. How is the team arrangement adjusted when the opposition sends out 2 players to the corner? Obviously, a 2 versus 2 is required. 7. What system of defending is preferred by the goalkeeper, the coach and the team? A zonal defending marking system, to defend those 4 spaces we earlier identified, or a man marking system with the opposition players picked up 1 versus 1. And finally, 8. If a corner is pulled out beyond the penalty area, does the goalkeeper tell his fellow defenders to hold their positions, or does he encourage them to move out on block to take advantage of the offside law? And if so, how far do they move out? As our pro footage shows here, all goalkeepers must be pessimists. And even though they feel their team is going to defend well at corners, and they hope for the best, they must certainly fear the worst and be prepared for any contingency, as the save proves here. In the second instance, a well-timed run and leap by the goalkeeper, even though there was a challenge, produces a very clean catch. If you look very carefully, you can see that the goalkeeper delays his run by a split second so that when he does arrive to catch the ball, all his momentum is going forwards. Another corner and another clue as the kicker puts up his hand, but that could be misinterpreted because most people think that's a signal for a far post ball, and this one didn't quite make it, but the goalkeeper did. Notice the starting position of the keeper, towards the near post and not too far out from the goal, and you can see he makes an early decision that it's going to be his ball, and even though the goalkeeper is going into heavy traffic, he assesses that they can avoid a physical collision and is therefore able to catch rather than punch the ball. The next set play situation that produces many goals is from the free kick. If you look at the first one, part of the problem has come from his own player who is really doing the goalkeeper's job in the 6-yard box. Is this the way to defend a free kick? Similarly, in a free kick from an almost identical position outside the penalty area, this particular goalkeeper has allowed his own defenders to come right back into the 6-yard box. Consequently, a white attacker gets right in the line of vision of the goalkeeper when the kick is taken. Is this the way we want to defend? That has to be sorted out between the goalkeeper, the coach, and the team. And even if the defending team is doing its job, skillful attackers will find a way of overcoming good defending, and this great curling shot round the wall didn't take our goalkeeper by surprise. He was ready and made an outstanding stop. We've gone into a lot of detail in our set plays video on the organisation at defending at free kicks. And the purpose of this video is to look at the goalkeeping role, albeit with a team perspective. In the graphic, we see that when the ball is in the opposition defending third, there really is no danger of the goalkeeper being scored on directly. What needs to happen is the goalkeeper has to direct his back line of defenders as to where they should take up their line of defence, and then position him or herself accordingly, so they're able to sweep that space in behind the back players. As we move into the middle third, the same principles apply in terms of defending, but obviously the position for the line of defence changes, as does the starting position of the goalkeeper. From here, it's feasible on a direct free kick that somebody could score with a big kick, and so the sweeper keeper is now positioned at the top of the 6-yard box. And now, as we enter the final third of the field, we look at our critical defending areas, and we've identified 4 key areas from which free kicks need a different type of organisation. Area 4 is in the wide positions, where the opposition are unlikely to score directly from the free kick, but can put the ball right into a scoring position. We're going to suggest that you give some thought, both as a goalkeeper and as a coach, with regard to defensive walls. We believe that walls are not required if when they line up they're actually outside the penalty area. In this wide free kick here, we recognise that 2 attackers need to be defended by 2 defenders, but why would they need to come together as a wall, as they would only succeed in impeding the vision of the goalkeeper? What has to be established is just where that line of defence is going to be, and we can see here it's within 4 to 5 yards of the top of the penalty area. This is the information the goalkeeper has to give to his back defenders. In the graphic, we can see from the position of the ball that to back right into the 6-yard box is only going to make life more difficult for the goalkeeper, as the ball can be played in there and the opposition will not be offside providing they stay outside the 6-yard box before the kick is taken. It'll just be a fight situation and not a good one for the goalkeeper. Similarly, if the line of defence is pushed up too high, as we show here, in this case beyond the penalty area, there's far too much space left between the back line and the goalkeeper, which can be exploited by the opposition. The line of defence set up across the penalty box around the penalty spot is just about right. In the next graphic, we're showing free kicks from 3 different positions in Area 4. The further they are away from goal, the more the line of defence can push up. So in the first instance, they're up towards the top of the penalty area. However, the goalkeeper will need to eyeball the situation and give very clear information. 18-yard line, between the penalty spot and the 18-yard line. Penalty spot, 6-yard box. Drop in a bit, push out a bit. All the fine tunings which are needed to make sure that line of defence is absolutely correct. As you see with the line of defence on the 6-yard box, with a free kick something like 12 yards out from the goal, that will need to be critically assessed by the goalkeeper because 1 yard further out or 1 yard further in can make a big difference. We've already stated that if the wall when lined up is outside the penalty area, there is no need for a wall. Any keeper should be able to deal with a shot from 27 to 28 yards if they can see the ball all the way. In the areas outside the penalty area that we're shown with the shades of blue, if a free kick is given in these areas, the wall will be inside the penalty area or at least on the line of the penalty area, and therefore a wall is required. We've given some indication of the numbers that should go into the wall. As you move around from acute angles where you need 1 or 2, you come to positions right in front of the goal where 4 or 5 players are going to be needed. In area number 2, those critical areas around the sides and the angle of the penalty area, we're showing here that the line of defence is 1 or 2 yards outside the 6-yard area, and there's a 3-man wall. The 3-man wall could be a problem, as we can see here, as it forces the goalkeeper towards the far post in order to get a clear view of the ball. An in-swung shot into the near post area might catch him out. Should it be 3 or should it be 2? And do we have 2 bullet men attacking the ball? That's something that has to be sorted out from a team point of view, and particularly from a goalkeeping perspective. And we've dealt with that in more detail in the Set Plays book and video. We've missed out Area 3 only because we've already said that from those distances we don't need a wall. But we do need to attend to the line of defence, and we do need a team that's alert and alive, and the goalkeeper in particular has to make sure the defenders know exactly where they should be on that line of defence and who should be picked up if there are any unmarked opposed players. So we're going to look in more detail at that all-important Area 1, which is the most difficult area to defend. As soon as that free kick is given, this is where the goalkeeper must come up with quick information and solutions for the team. These are the questions that must be asked. Do you need a wall? How many go into that wall? And this information is shouted to the team. Is the situation on the right-hand side of the wall okay? And it looks to be so here because it's 1 against 1. Who lines up the wall? This is a particularly controversial area. Do you have a recovering attacker running back from upfield who directs by hand signals the inside player on the outside of the wall? What happens if our aligning player moves into a crucial defending position and the opposition either move the ball or the referee forces the wall back and the alignment is not quite right? Certainly the goalkeeper needs to be offering direction for the readjustment of the wall. The goalkeeper needs to instruct his defence not to drop too far back. Normally, the line of defence is taken from the wall anyway. And then there's the bullet man, the player who is going to come forwards quickly to pressurise the ball on a direct or an indirect free kick. Nowadays, many attacking teams prefer the indirect route anyway, even on a direct free kick, because by pushing the ball 1 yard to one side, they can in effect eliminate part of the wall. Does that bullet man come straight onto the ball, or should that bullet man come in from an angle? This is something the goalkeeper needs to sort out. Coming from an angle enables the goalkeeper to see the ball better, but it may be more difficult for the bullet man to block the shot. Also, we need to look at indirect free kicks within the penalty area, particularly now with the back pass rule, as this sometimes catches out the goalkeepers and leads to indirect free kicks being conceded. We're making a suggestion here that a split wall could be the most effective, with 2 bullet men to attack the ball as soon as the ball is touched, and with the goalkeeper getting a clear view of the ball. However, that doesn't stop the opposition going into the middle of the 2 walls and closing the gap. As you can see, when the free kick is less than 10 yards from goal, all players must stay either 10 yards from the ball or on the goal line. We're suggesting here that everyone gets on the goal line, once more with a split wall, with the field players with toes touching the back part of the goal line, and the goalkeeper with his heels touching the front part of the goal line, ready to narrow the angle as soon as the ball is kicked. So lots of detail here, but very important detail, and these are situations that need to be discussed and sorted out by the team coach, and of course the goalkeeper. And finally, the safekeeping seal. Do you have a jumping wall? We suggest you think of 2 different areas. If the free kick is right in front of goal, a jumping wall may allow a shot to go underneath the player's cleat, perhaps even with a deflection off the cleat or shoe, and leave the goalkeeper with very little time to react or recover on a deflection. However, from the angles of the penalty area, it's a different situation. A leaping wall makes the wall higher and helps negate one part of the problem where those shots that are bending up and over the wall and in under the crossbar at the near post are particularly difficult for goalkeepers. Another 12 inches added to the height of the wall would be very useful. And a shot being hit underneath the wall from this angle has to travel much further and will give the goalkeeper much more time to assess, reposition and make the save. And finally, on the set plays, the long throw from positions in the defending third can be very difficult to deal with from a goalkeeping point of view. The trajectory of the ball is different than anything else the goalkeeper might experience. The ball is starting off 6, 7 or 8 feet off the ground and is looping into the danger area. You can see with this long throw in here the confusion it causes, and it only needs a little deflection for the header to sneak in at the far post. Should the goalkeeper come for these balls? Or should he leave it for the defenders to make the challenge? All we can do is to make certain suggestions that we have here in the graphic. With the player who is throwing the ball and the attacker who is on the goal line, we do need 2 players to deal with that situation to produce a 2 versus 2. Remember, the attacking team cannot be offside directly from a throw-in. The long throw from the example we've just seen in the pro shot is landing in that near post area. Most teams these days feel it is better to mark any target player in that area both front and back. And that's okay, but even that can cause confusion and deflections to take place because of 3 players attacking the one ball. What we have done in the graphic is different from the pro footage. We have treated the long throw as a corner and put defenders on both posts with the thinking that it eases the burden on the goalkeeper with regard to should they come, should they stay. The goalkeeper knows that if he or she comes for the ball, there are 2 covering players left behind. And we also see in the situations towards the far post, 2 players are covering that space, but also marking the players who are looking to get on to any flick on that deflects through to the far post area. So if we look at that pro action again in slow motion, you can see the ball dropping into the area and coming down very quickly, a difficult situation for the goalkeeper to deal with, and he needs to cover that near post first. But when the ball deflects to the far post, there is no one to cover the far post. Of course, there are no hard and fast rules in soccer. but with two players on the near and far post, the defender at the far post would have met the deflection and cleared the ball. So we've reached the end of this two-part goalkeeping video. No goalkeeper is perfect. The best goalkeepers are those who make the fewest mistakes, and good goalkeepers work to improve their skills through practice. Team coaches can greatly help their goalkeepers by working with them outside the team practice and placing them in realistic team situations that replicate just what happens in the game. And what's more, it's rewarding and fun to see the goalkeepers grow. To the goalkeepers and the team coaches, safe keeping. Further insights into the coaching of goalkeepers can be found in the book that partners this video.